Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Day 1 Airventure 2024, and thank you for joining us for Oshkosh Live. I'm Randy Bollinger, Editorial Director of Flying Magazine, and I'm here today with Lisa DeFries, our Group President for the Aviation Group. And we're thrilled to be here at Oshkosh at Airventure with a couple 100,000 of our closest friends, so thank you for joining us for something that's very special. This is a first of its kind live broadcast, Oshkosh Live, here inside Redbird Flight display on Knapp Street. So, Lisa, maybe we should start by telling people, what is Oshkosh Live and how did that come to be?
Yeah, absolutely, Randy. So Oshkosh Live started with the creative team from Redbird Flight and our media group. We decided we wanted to bring the Oshkosh experience to the masses. For those people that may have come but can't join this year, for those that have not been to Oshkosh before, maybe they'll put it on their bucket list for a future opportunity. And really just to bring all of the greatness that is Oshkosh to the greater community of aviation for people who love aviation.
Wonderful. And you'll find it streaming on all of our websites, Flying Mag, Plane and Pilot, Flying Magazine's Facebook page. You can't miss it if you want to follow us. So we've got some exciting things that are going to be on tap. We're going to walk you through the whole rundown for today and what to expect throughout the week. We're going to have live guests. We've got some tape segments. Wonderful, fabulous. Thanks for joining us here. But we've got a couple of guests with us right now since we are here in the Redbird studio in Redbird Flight exhibit. So let's talk to our wonderful guests.
Yeah, right, that's right. Joining us this morning are Todd Willinger and Josh Harnagel from Redbird Flight. If you know Redbird, you know they manufacture a wide range of training devices, from desktop simulation to full motion flight simulators, and you guys supply flight schools all over the world with your training devices. Redbird has been a longtime supporter of EAA, and I believe you were one of the original founders of the Pilot Proficiency Center here on Flight. So do you want to share with us some of the history about your relationship with EAA?
Well, yeah, this goes back initially, and obviously pilot proficiency is a big thing with us, right? That continued learning and training experience. And so probably about 15 years ago, we got involved. Frankly, it started kind of with SAFE. And we started doing some proficiency training here, which morphed into EAA got involved, and they took it to a much larger scale than we could have even imagined, to the point where they now have built a dedicated facility up off of the museum and where they can utilize this sort of training year round. So obviously it gets a lot of use this week, but it's great to see how that's evolved, and obviously we love being here. If you're a pilot, you love being here, but you know, it's just a great environment.
Good.
So, Josh, tell us a little bit about the history of Redbird. You started manufacturing training devices in what year?
So I think probably 2007 is when we Redbird really got rolling, and we the founding group of Redbird came to Oshkosh as sort of a proof of concept to see if the sim had any legs, if there was any interest in it, and you know, the product wasn't quite ready, but there was a lot of interest in it, and we've been every year since then, and it's really grown over the years, both our company as well as our presence at this great event.
And do you have any idea at this point, I'm sure you do, you know your data better than anyone else, how many flight schools, colleges and universities worldwide, how many devices has Redbird delivered to the community?
It's about 4,000.
Amazing.
Ballpark, plus or minus something. We're in 54 countries, something like 3,000 customers. And so I don't think when we brought those devices up here in 2007, we would imagine that it would have grown like that. So we've been very fortunate. And part of that is because people had some sort of trust in us. I'm not sure why, but they thought we were on to something. And so it's helped motivate us. But again, we're a company of pilots building products for pilots. And I think, and frankly, those of us that started the company, we didn't have a background in aviation business, right? And I think that kind of helped us because we looked at things much different than maybe a traditional aviation company would have. And I think some of that has served us well.
Really wonderful. So you've got all sorts of things here. It looks like you're set up for some seminars. Do you have a desktop simulator? You've got the full motion simulator behind us. What can people expect when they come visit you here?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, what you pointed to here is our STEM lab. we have become very prominent in the K through 12 space, both in the traditional STEM and the career technical education, or CTE components. And so for probably about the last 6 or 7 years, we have a STEM lab here. So our director of STEM education will actually be doing STEM classes during the show. So for all the kids and stuff out there, be here at 9 a.m. every morning. You can register for the classes during that day. If by chance they're filled up, come back the next morning. We'll get you on the list. And then obviously we'll do sales demos in one of the devices. We have we've been working with the RAF, Recreational Aviation Fellowship. So after people learn to fly, what do you do with it, right? If you're not a professional pilot, right? And so they have a great mission, and being able to be part of some of that backcountry flying is fantastic. And so we're trying to help promote that, as well as do some training for that type of flying. And that's what the Husky device here is all about, as well as thank you to Aviat for bringing the RAF Husky and parking it out front. And then we also have, we have some just devices for people to play on, but then we're also announcing a new mixed reality device that we've been working on for the past 7 or 8 months. And so we're bringing that up. There's probably a little bit of fine tuning they have to do, but hopefully by the end of the year, that'll be a commercially available product.
So what is mixed reality? I kind of live in an alternate universe, but what's mixed reality?
Okay, well, so through the use of a headset, right, we are providing what most people would consider kind of the virtual reality aspect.
Okay.
So although it's not a recorded video, it is kind of a live stream video of what is happening outside of the cockpit of the aircraft. But when you look down, you are masking so that you see the avionics in the training device. You can see your hands on the yoke, on the throttles, manipulating.
Perfect.
And so it's, for the technology people out there, it's if virtual reality and augmented reality had a baby, and now it's mixed reality.
Well, that's really wonderful. As a pilot, simulators have come such a long way, and one of our flight schools that I've been to has a Redbird simulator in there. And if I want to stay instrument current, now I can go in and spend a time in the simulator and not bore holes in clouds and actually log that time with an instructor, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can maintain your full instrument currency in any of our FAA approved devices. That's the 6 approaches in 6 months, plus a hold. I always forget the hold.
Nobody likes to do a hold.
Yeah, but you do need to do that to be legal. But as long as you're within currency, you don't need an instructor. It's really useful. I personally use it to maintain my instrument currency, and it's an excellent tool for that. You can do, you can shoot approaches all over the country, and you can do things that you really wouldn't want to do in the real airplane and practice those maneuvers.
Okay. Neat. I just discovered this, Lisa, you know all about it, but I just realized that there's something called SimVenture that happens before AirVenture. What's that all about?
Yeah, so SimVenture is actually, the flight sim community has got together to put on an actual virtual event where they fly into Oshkosh, and they do it before the show. They use live ATCs so that it's literally the real experience. There's a combination of people that are planning to come to Oshkosh, and again, it's a perfect case for flight simulation and the proficiency that it advances for pilots, because they'll fly the approach before they actually come here when the airspace is crowded with thousands of airplanes coming into Oshkosh, and they can do it in advance. And for some people that don't make it to Oshkosh, it's kind of their way of experiencing a landing at Oshkosh without actually having to be here.
That's the beauty of simulators, that they make us all better pilots, and that's a great example. Flying into Oshkosh, for those of you that have flown here, it's like a 26 or a 30-page NOTAM. So to be able to take your time and fly that approach and get your airspeeds right and do it before you actually have the stress of doing it with airplanes in front of you and behind you. I mean, that's really...
One of the real advantages, I flew in here and I practiced on our sims, is not only do you get to go through it, but you can actually rewind and do the parts over and over where there may be some confusion or there may be some difficulty.
I wish I could do that in my Cardinal.
Yeah.
Rewind. I do have a replay button on my Garmin that I can hear the audio, but it doesn't turn back the clock. So, well, that's interesting. Well, we hope you all have a wonderful show today. I think we've got a segment we're going to run, don't we? That
is correct. Yeah, we've got some features that we'll be running throughout the week. This one today on Redbird is coming up shortly. In a minute. We're not quite there yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, talking about advocacy, Flying had started a couple of years ago when we redesigned the magazine to bring simulation content into the magazine for a reason. We were a little bit nervous when we first started doing that because we thought, will pilots react to this in a negative way because they might say, hey, I fly real airplane, not a simulator. Then the language about flight simulation has really changed, and we have gotten more letters of support from readers in our audience because they have learned the value of practicing takeoff and landings and the role that flight simulation can play in making them a better, safer pilot.
I think one of the great things that Flying has done, some of your editorial stuff, like Meg is excellent. She's not only a good writer, but she brings a wealth of experience on the simulator side. She's an active flight instructor that uses sims with students, and her features on sims, I think there's a lot of value in those for individual pilots too, that are not coming at it from the flight school or the flight instructor perspective, but how to use a sim to just be a better, safer pilot overall. So I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's really excellent that y'all have brought that kind of content into the magazine and into the digital space.
Meg Odluski has, as a resident flight instructor and editor of Flying, has done a great job of bringing that conversation forward for sure. And actually, we have a segment this week we're going to be shooting with Meg and Amy Wilder, our editor-in-chief for Plane and Pilot magazine.
Great.
In one of your simulators, talking about learning to fly using flight simulation as a training tool. So we'll be able to give people the run through on what that actually looks like a little bit later in the week.
I will add another to Todd's point about we have the PPC, the Pilot Proficiency Center, our booth obviously, and then over at the Learn to Fly Center in Four Corners, we're running a flight school. We have 2 large sims and 4 desktop BATDs that manned by instructors, and so folks can go in and get a lesson that will be logged in their logbook, could be used towards filling out an 8710 and getting a private pilot certificate. So, and that'll be open I think Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. So that there's a lot of opportunity here to not just play with a sim, but really get some training in it as well.
Awesome. So Todd, going back to one of the things we talked about a little bit earlier, in the United States, obviously workforce development is a very popular conversation, right? And STEM clubs throughout the United States, of course, high schools are starting to invest in flight simulation to help build the pilot pipeline and to attract people into the industry. You talked about mixed use. Can you tell me that again? The mixed.
Oh, the mixed reality.
Mixed reality. Yeah. So a lot of kids today are dying to fly drones, right? They love it. They're hot on the Christmas list every year, and they have experience with first-person view goggles. How does that help them transition into flight training? Is that something that would be like the future of flight training, right? Because they're flying with first-person view goggles, eventually the mixed-use reality, or is that a different aspect of your business?
Well,
unrelated.
We see that there's going to be just a technology adoption, we see that there's going to be a technology adoption with these sorts of mixed reality devices. I think over time we'll figure out how well it's adopted, but there is a tremendous interest. Now, we are very large in that K-12 market, and I know there's a huge interest there, right? Because you've got people, they're using these devices at home, kids are, and so it becomes kind of a natural extension into the training environment in that. What'll be interesting is to see what sort of adoption occurs in the traditional flight training market. I will tell you, we delivered a large number of training devices to the Air Force last year. We did not provide the mixed reality. There was a third party, however, that integrated into our sim. So you're seeing a lot of this in military training now. I'm going to guess there's probably a little bit of it potentially in some of the professional pilot aspects, but with the airlines. But we'll see if how this goes moving forward.
So education is really important, and we want to get people excited about aviation as early as possible. So for all the educators listening, how do they engage Redbird?
www.redbirdflight.com.
Okay.
That's a good way. Give us a call. Somebody will always answer the phone. Well, Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 6, but reach out.
Okay.
We'll be glad to talk through whether or not we can help you augment your training.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Well, we're grateful for the partnership with Redbird this year to bring Oshkosh to the masses. We can't thank you guys enough. We're excited
pleasure.
for the week ahead. We're going to be rolling to a feature on Redbird here shortly, and we'll be back with you in just a few seconds.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Like all good startups do, we started in a barn.
At the time, I was training with a company that was paying in the tens of millions for simulators. The features were just simply not there. The visuals weren't great. The fidelity wasn't there. So I came back to some of my old Dell buddies. I said, you know, we can do this for like 1/10 of the cost. And that was how we began.
I had gone and got my pilot's license, got married, bought a house, had a kid, ran out of money. Had to hang up my wings. This opportunity came along to say, why don't we build some sims? This would be a really good way to stay connected with aviation and we could fly. And so we all started working on a sim in a barn here in Austin.
And for the next 2 years, we worked in the workshop in my stables at our ranch to develop a couple of the key technologies.
For about a year, we piddled and we had trial and error, and we ultimately came up with what we thought was a viable product. And in order to test that, we decided to take it to the largest air show in the country, Oshkosh.
And we took the first simulator to Oshkosh in 2007. Didn't work worth a damn, but we wanted to see if there really was a market because we knew we could get it to where we needed to get it. And we came back with so many orders. We knew we were in big trouble because now we've got to fill these orders with simulators that work.
We thought we were creating hardware and software solutions to an underserved market. In reality, I think it's a little bigger than that I think we actually helped create a market.
We said we were going to take like 2 months off or a month off, you know, and nobody was going to think about it or talk about it. We were going to lock the workshop up and everyone's going to rest after Oshkosh. And I think that lasted about 3 days.
And as soon as we got back, we opened up our first shop and began the process of beginning to build this in a way that was repeatable and something that we would be proud to deliver to flight schools.
The aha moment for us was really about understanding why is it that simulation is adopted by airlines and military and used so well across the board, but GA kind of looked at it and said, well, yeah, it's good for instrument training, but that's about it.
And it just didn't make sense to us that that technology was only available to advanced pilots. Could we build a flight simulator that was realistic enough at a price point that would be attractive to a flight school or a university to teach pilots their basic PPL and instrument rating skills?
That's what it was about. It was about let's build a device that changes that value proposition, that makes it a no-brainer to adopt it even at the earliest level of a pilot's life cycle. What needs to be true about this device, you know? Wraparound visuals was a must because we needed it to be able to be used in visual training. We needed it to be interchangeable so that it could be used for a number of aircraft in your fleet. It had to have motion. It had to be broken down and walked through a 36-inch doorway by 2 people. It had to be installed in a small portable building at a municipal airport, and it had to run off house power.
The funny thing about our origin was we always saw Redbird as strictly an R&D company, and our vision was to let somebody else do the manufacturing. We couldn't find anybody that could build to our standards. How we ended up here today at this factory behind me, and the engineering crew and the marketing crews and support crews we've got, we could not have imagined back then.
We started Redbird with one product. Today we build over 35 different individual products and manage thousands of different parts throughout the warehouse.
We went from being a simulator designer builder to a training solutions company with curriculums and all kind of specialty software that makes this kind of training possible.
There's a lot of changes coming in aviation. You still have operators that may be doing different things, but we still need to be able to effectively train them in ways to be safe at the tasks that they're doing. And as we look 5, 10, 15 years down the road, we are pushing to help create the training aids and the training tools that are necessary to teach the next generation of pilots. It's really been an extremely rewarding experience for us because I feel like we're able to do what we really want to do, which is not necessarily build this widget or build that device. It's move the needle. It's encourage more people to fly, get more pilots into aviation, make it more accessible, I think that the work that we've been able to do on that front is probably the thing I'm the most proud of.
I look at this sometimes and I'm stunned by what this company's been able to accomplish. I wouldn't want to begin to tell you where I think we're going to be in 10 years, but we're going to be the guys.